Good morning, everyone. My name is Danielle McNichol, and I am General Counsel and the Director for Neumann University Center for Leadership. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And if you have any questions, just a few housekeeping items, you will receive the entire presentation provided to you, as well as a certification upon completion of this morning's webinar. Also, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me at mcnichod@neumann.edu. Today, as part of the uh, webinar, there will be an opportunity for Q&A. Feel free to, if you go to the top of your screen and you hit, there's a button that says chat. Feel free to send a question to us, and we'll be happy to answer questions along the way. We apologize if there are any technical difficulties, as we're operating this from multiple locations, so please bear with us through the event. And we're hopeful that you will visit us for our upcoming events. We actually have wellness and yoga that will be taking place this Friday. And again, you can visit our different events at www.nucenter4leadership.com. At this time, I would like to welcome to the webinar Nancy Caramanico, who is with Newman's University Center for Leadership, and the person that provides us with all of the wonderful social media and content and web piece that we are so used to having. And also, as part of, Nancy also has her own company that specializes in providing these types of webinars. So Nancy Caramanico, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm very, very happy to be here with you today and to talk about LinkedIn and social media for job search. Today, we're going to look at different resources for online job search. Today, we're going to look at different resources for online job search. We're going to see how to set up and customize LinkedIn profiles, and also take a look at some of the best uses of social media to support your career. Each of the resources today will be shared on the Neumann University Center for Leadership website, and it will include the slides from today and also a video recording. When we look at social media today, we think about this infographic here, and we actually find out that what happens in an internet minute. At the end of 2019, this chart was created, and if you take a look at it, in just 60 seconds, 1 million people are logging into Facebook. 18 million texts are sent, and 87,500 people are tweeting. And the Google search queries, 3.8 million. So it's such a rapid and continual use of the internet and social media. And what we're seeing today is even an increase in that, as many people are moving to online remote work and remote learning. Another term that's often used when we talk about social media is the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is a term that refers to how many of us are connected in so many different ways through our devices. In 2020, it's estimated that there are almost 21 billion Internet of Things connected devices. And every second, another 127 devices are connected to the internet. When we talk about connected devices, it used to be just even 10 years ago, the only connected devices we had could have been our computer or our laptop. And maybe we had a smartphone. But today's connected devices include things such as our smart TVs, our cameras, even thermostats. So we're able to communicate and receive information and send information with these devices as well. There are many platforms for online job search, but one of the most used and successful platforms for people is LinkedIn. There are over 660 million professionals listed on LinkedIn and 20 million active jobs. Each month, currently 3 million new jobs are posted to LinkedIn. When you go to set up your LinkedIn profile, you'll find that you can set it up either online through linkedin.com, or you can set it up with an app. Then you're going to, once you have your LinkedIn profile set up, you're able to access it via either the internet, on your computer, or even on the mobile app, which makes it very convenient. To set up an online job profile on LinkedIn, you'll need details about jobs you've held, skills you have, and any advanced degrees or educational information. You'll want to include a brief summary of what you can offer to potential employers. And remember that brevity is your friend. You want to keep your details and information fairly short so that you'll be ensured that people will be able to take the time to read it. If it's too lengthy, sometimes that can be off-putting. You want to include pieces of information in a concise way so that employers can quickly see what you have to offer. You'll also want to have a headshot or photo that's professional looking, and it's also an individual photo of yourself, dressed in work clothing or professional clothing. You wouldn't want to use a group photo or the kind you might put on a personal profile. When adding information, you don't necessarily need to include dates. You'll want to look for, if you're adding your company that you've worked in before, you can look for a company name to see if it's available on LinkedIn. For example, if you work for a large company, you may be able to link to their LinkedIn page. If it's available, you can link to it in your job experience section. You'll type in your title, the company name, and the location where you worked. Keep in mind that dates are optional. It's nice to include them, but you don't always have to have specific dates for each of these items. When adding your graduation year, it's not necessarily relevant to someone looking to hire you to know when you graduated from high school, for example, or college. You may not need to include your elementary school or your high school. Just make sure you're including relevant work experience and a summary. For those of you that are still building professional experience, as many of us are, you can include your LinkedIn profile things such as special projects you've been involved in, maybe volunteer projects, or work you do in the community. Another important part of your LinkedIn profile is your summary. For your LinkedIn summary, again, you would like to keep this fairly brief, because if someone is looking to hire you, they want to be able to tell just by looking at your summary what it is you offer. So it's possible to put those things in there and bullet them, or just any way that you can be clear and concise about what you offer, and adding that into your summary section is very helpful to people when they're looking at your profile. A very important part of LinkedIn is the use of keywords. Keywords are important, and they can be used by potential employers when they're looking for people that will match a certain position that they're trying to fill. They'll do a search based on a keyword. Keywords can include information from your current job, from past jobs, and you want to include specific action verbs that talked about work that you completed. Keywords matter because when an employer goes to search for you to fill a job, they'll search on a keyword. For example, if they were trying to fill a position for an accountant, some of the keywords they might use would be accounting, finance, financial, things like that. So think about the types of jobs you're looking for and the types of jobs you've completed. And when you're filling out your LinkedIn profile, put those keywords in various parts throughout your LinkedIn profile, such as in your summary, in your job descriptions and in places like that. You may even want to include keywords, for example, in your different projects that you're talking about, or different volunteer pieces that you add. Because those keywords, when people do a search online on LinkedIn, they'll be able to find that information through the use of the keywords that you have selected to add to your profile. There are lots of different ways to customize your LinkedIn profile. One very nice way to do it is you can customize the URL of your profile. Once you have set up your profile, you're able to go into the settings for your LinkedIn profile and edit the URL. And then you can, for example, it would read linkedin.com / and then your custom name that you've added. Maybe it's your first name and last name, or you might want to use some initials and your last name, something that you select. And then when you save that, it's your own customized LinkedIn URL. What would you do with that LinkedIn URL? That could be something that you put on your email signature. It could go on to your resume, and it could also be put on a business card. Another way to customize your LinkedIn profile is to request recommendations from people that you're connected to. For example, if you have recently worked with a coworker, you can go into their profile and request that they give you a recommendation on LinkedIn. The way that that's done is you search for the person's name, you click on their profile, and once you do that, a window will pop open, and under their photo, you can click on the More button and request a recommendation. When the person receives that request for a recommendation in their email, they can fill out the request and send it back. So it comes back to you as an email, and you'll have the opportunity to add that recommendation live on your own LinkedIn profile page. It's a nice feature to be able to include on your LinkedIn profile, because it's a way to have some record and recommendation from other people that you have worked with. Also, it's a nice thing for you to be able to do. Remember that with social media, you're connected to other individuals. So it's a nice thing to offer to colleagues to be able to give them a recommendation that they can include on their LinkedIn profile. An additional way to customize your LinkedIn profile is to look at the different settings and customize them to suit your own needs. In order to do this, you go to your profile, go to settings, privacy, and communications, and you'll see the different choices you'll have there. You'll have the ability to decide how often you get emails, for example, how often notifications are received, and additional things like that in terms of how often you get communications from LinkedIn. Another helpful thing you can customize is your activity settings. If you are going ahead and updating your LinkedIn profile, you might want to turn off your activity updates, and that way it won't update everybody following you of all the different changes. So I like to leave that one turned off, because if I'm making changes to my LinkedIn profile, that way it doesn't get sent to each and every person. So you can find these ways to customize your profile by, again, just going to your settings and then in there looking at your privacy and communication settings. When you're doing a job search on LinkedIn, you can go into the jobs section, and in there you can search by job titles, for example, sample titles of work that you're looking for. You can also go into search in your area. So you would add the city and the state or the zip code in there and just click on search, and it will bring up a listing of local positions that you can consider. Additionally, there is a section in the LinkedIn page for you to go and look at suggested salaries. And in there, you can find different job titles, and you can get an idea of offerings that are available and possible salary ranges that could apply. Also available on LinkedIn are other online tools to expand your use of the platform. These include LinkedIn tips for students, video tutorials on specific sections of creating your profile, and more. Additionally, there is a premium offering from LinkedIn, and with premium, it gives you an additional ability to explore options for jobs available. And also, it offers online courses you can take through LinkedIn. However, LinkedIn Premium is not necessary to use LinkedIn. You're able to create a fully functional LinkedIn profile with the free LinkedIn account. Remember with LinkedIn that you want to connect with other individuals. So when you're using your LinkedIn, you want to reach out to people that you've worked with in the past, people that you're currently working with, and other people that you know in different working capacities that you've met. So it's a nice way to stay connected to individuals. And one of the good things about it is once you have a LinkedIn connection, they're connected to you on LinkedIn. Even as you go forward, maybe you start a new job or you're in a different role, you're still able to stay connected to that individual. When setting up your profile, there are a number of different pieces to it. So we've created this handy tip sheet that will be included as a download on the website and on the follow-up email that you get. This will help you to think of different ways that you can use LinkedIn. One thing that we like to remind people is that regular participation is one of the things that will make it valuable for you. Think about how often you might want to go in there, maybe several times a week, to look at different information that's on there. You might read professional articles, share those, and connect with other individuals. So there are very many positive and professional uses of social media today, and it's often found with educational groups. You can search according to particular topics of interest, and you can use resources and teams. So these are available on LinkedIn as well. There are many groups that you can join and connect to, and it's a very good place for reading professional articles based on different jobs you currently have or professions that you're interested in getting involved in. One place that is very popular for social media is Facebook. And with Facebook, you may have seen recently on the Super Bowl, there was a commercial about Facebook groups. Facebook groups have become a very popular way to connect with people with similar interests. And that may be school-based groups or based on a specific topic that you're interested in knowing more about. But one important thing to remember with Facebook is privacy settings. And you want to always be taking a look at that, because sometimes Facebook will change their platform and it will make it necessary for you to tweak your privacy settings from time to time. Everything that you post on your social media profile is searchable. So you want to think about that. When you go to update your privacy settings, you can go into your personal profile, go to privacy checkup and privacy settings, and you want to think about whether or not everything you post is public. You wouldn't want to have a Facebook profile fully public. You might want to just have it be viewable by friends or by a smaller subgroup. You can also turn off tagging so that people can't tag you in various photos that they would upload to Facebook. So it's important to always look at your privacy settings no matter what social media platform you're on, because those settings support you and make things more secure for your experience?
Nancy, this is Danielle McNichol too. I just wanted to jump in here, folks, particularly when we're talking about Facebook privacy and we're talking about LinkedIn and social media. First and foremost, we always think about the individuals that may be trying to take our information, to compromise our information. That's certainly the first piece. The second piece, though, is what we're speaking about today, is that you're going to be searching for a job or you're utilizing one of these platforms as a potential for employment. An employer has the right in all of the states that I would expect everyone is on this call to take a look at your Facebook page and to take a look at all of your social media posts. This is very easy to do now as everything is available on the website. And I would suggest that if you're searching for a job, that you should take a look at if you do have a Facebook profile or you do have Instagram, Snapchat, any of the above and all of the above, that you should take a look at them. And if there's information on there or there are photos on there that you might think would be questionable to your employer, I would suggest that you consider either removing those from the page or making those private photos. The reason why I say that to you is depending on the type of employment opportunity that you might be seeking, your employer, for example, may not want to see you with a beer bottle in your hand on your website or your social media. Now, certainly you would say, well, why not? I'm a 21-year-old and I'm an adult. That is absolutely 100% accurate. You do have the right to post whatever you'd like to do. But a number of the searches that you will actually find of employers that have evaluated social media websites will indicate that that's one of the number one items that they look at. The type of language that's on the page, whether or not there are suggestions of any substance use or abuse on there, as well as some of the critiques potentially of former employers, co-workers, or sort of have some of the interactions that you may have on your page. Now, again, you certainly have the right to do all of those things, but I'm just sharing with you the reality of what you'll see in many of the surveys dealing with social media, Facebook, and any kind of Twitter statements out there. And the courts have upheld determinations depending on the employment opportunity for not hiring someone based on an evaluation of someone's social media.
So thank you, Danielle. It's certainly very important thing for us to think about whether no matter how we're using our social media. So when we're looking at privacy settings, each and every type of social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or TikTok, they all let you set your privacy settings. So you want to take a look at those periodically. As we said, they will change often on the platform. So it's something you want to take a look at and make sure it's set to a privacy setting that protects you. You also want to restrict location settings, which is just a good idea in terms of online safety. You want to go into your different apps and restrict the location so that you're not so easily searchable. Another thing that we're going to talk about here is the importance of thinking before you post. And this particular chart here shows whether it's personal action, professional social action, or brand social action. And very important to follow this etiquette. Danielle?
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. Yes, when we talk about social media etiquette and ethics, this is probably one of my favorite slides that's been created on this. And we just spoke briefly about your privacy settings. Make sure that you have them set appropriately. We always suggest that you keep them on private settings and that you have to invite friends, for example, with Facebook. And with LinkedIn, that you are being mindful of what you're allowing to be provided to the public versus what you want to have available. And I say this to people with, particularly with LinkedIn, a lot of folks want to put their entire resume on LinkedIn. I don't recommend that you do that. First and foremost, that's all of the information about you that could potentially be on a public setting. So you would think about whether or not you would want your resume to be available, for example, to your neighbor. So my suggestion to people again is thinking in terms of the privacy. Who needs to see the information, and how much information do you want to put out there effectively, publicly, and to the world? So looking then specifically focusing on social media etiquette and ethics, there are three different columns here that you can see. The first one starts with personal social action. The middle says professional social action. This is as a current or prospective employee. And then on the far right, it says brand social action. And so each one of the questions, and we're going to walk through those, but each one of those talks about specifically how am I taking an action, or who's going to be looking at the site to evaluate how I should post on social media. So let's just say that I'm going to post as myself. So that would be on the far left column, personal social action. It's just me. I'm just posting as myself, Danielle McNichol. And I'm just, I want to talk to my friends. Now, I have my Facebook set so that it's private. I can only have my friends on there. I have coworkers on there. And I have information on that website that specifically no one else can see that information that is on my Facebook site. With that being said, however, let's say that I have decided to change my employment, or an employee is unhappy with me, but I'm posting things as an individual on my personal social media, complaining about my boss, complaining about a day that I didn't get to take for vacation. All of that information on there, while it's personal social action, it really starts to come over into the next column, which is a professional social action, because unfortunately, or fortunately, my coworkers that I consider to be my friends are also on there. Will they notify my boss of the complaints that I put on the website? Will they notify my boss of that day that I said that I was out sick, but in fact was posting pictures of myself on vacation? Now, just so everyone's clear, these are all examples. I have not done those things, but those are all examples of human resources actions that I've had to take through a private employer, because I had employees of the prior employer that were posting pictures of themselves on a beach on a day that they said they had an FMLA day. So when we're talking about social media etiquette and ethics, the first thing that I say to everyone is, number one, remember anything that you put out on any type of social media or on any electronic platform will stay with you forever. It doesn't go away. It remains. People can take screenshots. So please think before you post anything in your personal action, because again, that coworker may decide to take it over into that next column, which is professional. Then it gets into your employer. Items that should concern you from a personal social media. Is it all about me? Again, how you are placing your information out on your page is very important. People will take a look at that. Am I stalking someone? Meaning that you're aggressively responding to posts or outreach. Again, you should monitor that. Would that be something that you would say to their face? Would that be something that you would discuss directly with them? Am I spamming them? Don't be sending them too much information. Am I venting or ranting or gossiping? When you have someone in a photo with you, are you asking them before you're tagging them? So I think most folks will know this if they have a Facebook page, but you can be tagged if you're in a photo, and then it automatically goes up on their page, unless they have a setting that they have to approve anything before it's tagged to the page. There are certain photos of myself, for whatever reason, that I wouldn't want to have on my personal page, or certainly not my professional page. And so my settings allow for me to review those before I'm tagged. And it's etiquette to ask people if it's okay to post something to their page before you would in fact tag them. Did I read before commenting or sharing? Many times anymore, we have these very long articles that are posted, and you just see the tagline across the top, and you assume that it's one thing, but in fact, it's a very different story underneath. And so I would recommend that before you just click and move on, which is really easy to do with Facebook and with a lot of the other scrolling that we now have, and particularly with a lot more time on our hands while we're home right now. That's one of the things that people tend to do. So I would suggest that you think before you click. Am I grateful and respectful? Meaning with those people that you are speaking with on social media. And these days, particularly, that's really how we are talking to each other. So you have to think in terms of your tone and your tenor. And again, this is just me speaking from a personal perspective, but it will get into your with your coworkers, your relationship with them, but then also with potential employers. Am I in the right account? And is this the right place for the message? And the reason, again, is it appropriate for you to send out certain messages to everyone that's your quote unquote friend in Facebook? And I mentioned, is this the right place? Am I grateful and respectful? I similarly say that whatever you post, you should consider. I use my grandmother and my daughter. Both of those folks, if I'm okay with both of them reading it, then and their response is being appropriate as well, then it's okay for it to be there. If it doesn't pass either test for you, don't post it. Then we get over to the next column, the professional social action. Does it meet the social media policy? So what does that mean? Well, if you're someone that's looking to either create a social media page for your company, or if you are looking for to create something that will tag your employer, you have to make sure that you're following the appropriate policy of your employer or a potential employer prior to posting anything. You may not be the right person to have that particular job responsibility. And you really should make sure that you've cleared that with your employer, or if you're looking to work for a particular employer, you should look at their social media policies prior to doing anything. Does it hurt my company's reputation? If you have a small business, and this is really sort of what we're looking to do, you want to make sure, again, that you are thinking about the audience that you have, and the audience really is focused on what's your mission, what is your intention behind the social media? Is it to sell your product? Is it to provide messaging? Is it a not-for-profit that you're doing outreach to people? Think about your audience and consider that. Does it help my company's marketing? Meaning, does it help someone to advocate for your brand, that people will want to share it, that they'll be interested to visit your page? Would my boss be happy seeing it? And again, we go back to the original one, the social media policy. Do you have the right to do it? And would your boss be happy to see you do it? Am I being open about who I work for? Many times people post things and say, hey, this is a great company, only to find out that that person actually works there. You really should be upfront and honest about where it is that you work. Are you being fair and accurate? Are you being honest about what you're doing? I have an example of something recently on Facebook that, an ad that was running for a company. And were they being fair and accurate? And the answer really was no, because they were saying that the delivery times were going to be 10 to 14 days, even with the delays that were out there. And in fact, we come to find that that's very different, right? So you have to be honest with your customers. You have to be honest with the people that you're approaching through your social media. Am I being respectful, not malicious? Again, it goes to the tone and tenor of your website. You really want it to be positive, informative, and whatever your mission driven points would be. But you want to keep it as factual as possible. Does it respect intellectual property? Intellectual property. So, for example, let's say you go on a website and you find a beautiful photo, And the beautiful photo may be of the Vatican. And it's absolutely spectacular, and it works with the colors that you want to have on your website. But if you take a look at those, many of those are actually owned products or they're owned photos. So you have to look to find a difference, a photo that's not owned by someone else, and that's what's called a stock photo, or a photo that's available for you to use on the internet. So that's one example. Stories would be another, to make sure that you're not violating intellectual property. And you should really check with an attorney about that if you would have any questions. And then, is this confidential information?
Mm.
So this is, for example, hey, my company is going to be going public in 2 weeks. Well, that may not be something that you want to have out on a social media platform. Brand social media, just really quickly, this is your organization speech on here. I don't think most of us on the website today, at least not that I've seen, are really going to be focused on this piece of it. This is more of the marketing. Does it add value? The target market, the social media pieces of this. Is it real and unique? Meaning that you're not spamming people. You don't want to constantly be sending them information, because we get enough emails, particularly now. Does it meet a code of conduct, the laws and requirements of the FTC, social media guidelines, sweepstakes guidelines, privacy guidelines that you want to think about, all of those things. We'd be happy to talk to you offline about all of that if you have any questions. And then again, finally, it goes back to, does it meet social media policy? But I think, again, underlying all of this, think before you post, think about the information that you're posting from LinkedIn, for all of the accounts that we've talked about, and making sure they understand that there will be an audience for this and your clicks never go away. So you have to consider all of those things when you're evaluating it. Back to you, Nance.
Thank you very much, Danielle. So very valuable information. There are additional online sites for looking for jobs. Some of those may be Monster, Indeed, and various other sites. They will allow you also to search by topic. They may have specific apps, and those sites will require you to create accounts. When you create accounts with those, you may want to use a separate email, and really think about what you're putting out there in terms of these other sites, because with those two, you'll be getting frequent reminders and different offerings, and it's really something you want to think about. You don't necessarily want to put yourself out for hundreds of different jobs online, but think more about what it is that you're trying to accomplish and which sites can help you the most. Another available site here in Pennsylvania, there's a site called PA Job Gateway, and you can access that site via PA Career Link, pa.gov, and you can go in there and create a profile for yourself and fill out the different information. And in that website, you're going to be able to search for local jobs that are available. In fact, this week, they have many offerings in there for different people that are looking for positions to be filled. They have a special section in there that was recently updated this week. So creating a profile on PA Job Gateway is a good way to find out about available resources. As we mentioned before, Indeed is a simple online job search site that you can create a profile for. They'll send you reminders about different things that come up. You can put different settings on your profile to be reminded about things particularly in your area or under a certain title. And please go ahead if you have any questions or you want to type anything into the chat. We'd be glad to address some questions that you may have.
Nancy, we have a question here that I'll take a stab at that one first. If you're searching for a job, are there any steps you should take to ensure your employer does not find out? Should you use your current employer as a reference? So those are both, there's kind of two parts to that, and I'm going to be happy to answer that question, but I want to start with one other thing that I want to mention to everyone. We've talked about LinkedIn. We mentioned Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, all those particular engines that manage very large employment websites. I think it's important for everyone on the call to understand that employers, potential employers, can see how many jobs you have applied for on there. Depending on what status they have, meaning what kind of account they have the opportunity to go in and view the types of positions that you've been applying for. I think going to the point here, does your employer find out? And the answer is, if they have active recruiters on some of those websites, the answer to that question is yes, they can. They can see who has been applying. My recommendation would be to turn off, there is on there a particular filter about whether or not you include the name of your employer on the searches. So when you upload to an Indeed, a Career Link, and Monster, there is actually a function on there that asks to see whether or not you want to include your current employer on there. And the reason for that is that your current employer is able to use that search function as something for it to be evaluated, and they can see it based upon based upon their company name. So, to going to the point of the question that was asked, are there any steps that you should take to ensure it? That would be my first recommendation to people, would be to ensure that you are turning those functions off. Second thing would be to be focused about how you apply for positions. Again, if you blanketly go through and you apply for 100 different types of jobs, number one, you've probably not changed your resume around to make sure that you're going to get through a lot of the electronic hurdles to get to a recruiter. And number two, a recruiter is going to see that you've been applying for a number of jobs, all possibly in the same day. And that, again, may not suggest to them that you're looking for a particular employment with a particular employer. Should you use your employer as a reference? Right now, references are going to be available at the end of the process after you've gone through probably an interview. You don't have to provide references at the time that you're applying for a job. You can use your current employer as a reference, but it is not necessary, particularly if you don't want your employer to know about that. There are certainly opportunities and ways for you to either use someone that's a coworker or a prior employer that would be a good reference. I also tell people that if you volunteer in the community or you work closely with someone that knows how you work, knows your reputation in the community, and or for the skills that are involved, you should feel comfortable utilizing them as well. We have another question. Are there free resume reviewers that can help with writing an ATS resume? The answer to that is yes. At any time, if anyone would like assistance, both with the LinkedIn, because normally folks, frankly, we're doing these face-to-face, particularly on LinkedIn. Nancy is a whiz on the keyboard with being able to show you where to find different features on the LinkedIn app. It can be confusing, and there can be a lot of different drop boxes. So feel free to send us an email. We will try to work with you or share a screen to help you with your LinkedIn profile. And just similar to that, if you would like to provide us with a copy of your resume, we will be happy to work with you to critique that. We, Neumann University Center for Leadership, also partners with CareerLink, and we are lucky to have their resources as well. They are not doing the face-to-face review of resume, obviously, right now, but they are happy to assist in any way as well. So you can get a couple different sets of eyes on those.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate what Danielle said about if anyone needs help with any of these profiles, we would be happy to do like a screen share and help you. And don't be put off by the way that the screen looks. Sometimes with LinkedIn, they're really changing their platform all the time. So where you thought you knew how to edit or do a certain section of it, now it looks different. That's just kind of how they function. So we're always happy to help make it a little bit easier to work with.
Okay, I see an additional question here. Are there any specific employer questions to be wary of when applying for jobs online? So the answer to that question, of course, is yes. There are always questions to be wary of, to think about when you're applying online. Application processes vary significantly by employer, and this process continues to change. Very specifically, with different websites have some what they call emotional testing, that they're evaluating your ability to think about processes. There are ways that questions are asked, and they're asked in multiple ways, and it's the same question and same response throughout an online interview process. What I would suggest to you is that you think about the questions, you write down your answers as you're going through. You consider the time that you are answering um, or applying online to be like an interview. It should be in a quiet space. It should be a thoughtful space. It should be a space where you don't feel that you're being interrupted, and you can truly think about the responses that you are providing. Because there are, as the question implies, and is really true, employers are looking for a number of different things, and they won't necessarily tell you, and it may depend on the job. For example, there are questions about honesty that are on certain websites. If you see money that's fallen on the floor, what do you do? Well, the expectation is that you're going to pick that up and that you're going to return that to the register. But there will be questions like that that will be all throughout. If you know a camera is not working in a portion of the store, what do you do? Those are some of the basic questions, but the important piece is that they're going towards honesty. So you really have to be thoughtful about it. You have to try to think about what the employer is trying to ask when you're doing the online interviewing. But the first piece should be putting a good profile together, putting your social media together, putting in your LinkedIn. You have your information available, and then your third document, of course, is your actual resume itself. And we're going to have more seminars on that coming up this month to talk about formatting. But please feel free to take a look at our resources about that already, because you really have to. It's really a number of different processes along the way. But that is one place that there would be some concerns. Be very careful about how you're answering, and be consistent. And also, again, take this as your opportunity as if you're being interviewed. You see here our coming up webinar this Friday. We're very excited about this. It's a wellness and yoga for stress release. We will have the opportunity for all of us to do yoga together. You can do this free in your home. We have a great practitioner that's going to work through some breathing. Right now there's all kinds of challenging times, obviously, and we wish everyone wellness and peace. And so during this time, we just thought this might be a good opportunity to allow people to quietly practice yoga. We're doing it together, but separate. And so we're excited to have Julie Caramanico that will be doing this for us on the Friday, the 17th, from 10 to 11 a.m. Obviously, there will be no video. There'll be a video of Julie, but not of any of us. So we look forward to having you join there as well. And again, all the resources are at www.nucenterforleadership.com. Feel free to also the career link information is on here, and as well as feel free to email me or the NU Center for Leadership.com, and we will be happy to answer any questions you might have. Finally, I would mention to everyone the openindelco.com website. There's some great resources on there, some how-to guides to help with webinars, to work through some issues that people may have as far as PT when they're at home. We have just a number of different items there, resources, and I could go on and on. So I'm really grateful and thankful for the team that has put all of this together: Pete Peterson and Alex Dyer from Bellevue Communications, Jen Wren, Nancy Caramanico. So I wish everyone a blessed day. God bless you guys, and please stay safe. Take care.
Thank you very much.